Welcome to Fame Factor, where we peel back the layers of one of hip hop's most fascinating figures. I'm your host, Sonia Lambert, and today we're diving deep into the untold stories behind Aubrey Drake Graham's meteoric rise from Toronto actor to global superstar. This isn't just another celebrity biography. This is the story of how a biracial kid from Canada rewrote the rules of hip hop, one strategic move at a time. Looking for a compelling dive into the figures who shaped modern pop culture? S.O.B is your AI-powered podcast platform delivering expertly crafted, informative, and engaging audio content. With over 100,000 minutes of high-quality programming and a growing community of 50,000 plus listeners across the U.S., S.O.B offers a curated experience for those interested in the stories behind the headlines. Explore the cultural impact and personal journeys of influential and often controversial figures, such as Drake, Tom Cruise, Michael Jackson, Coco Chanel, Roman Polanski, and many more. Whether you're a pop culture enthusiast or a curious listener, S.O.B provides context, depth, and insight. Subscribe to Fame Factor, our signature podcast series, for well-researched episodes that reveal the untold stories and complex legacies of the world's most talked-about celebrities. Now, before we understand Drake the artist, we need to understand Drake, the heir to a musical dynasty. See, talent doesn't just appear out of nowhere. It's inherited, nurtured, and shaped by environment. And Drake's musical DNA, it's absolutely stacked. Picture this, a young Aubrey sitting on his father's lap while Dennis Graham, a seasoned drummer who once played for the legendary Jerry Lee Lewis, teaches him piano. Dennis Graham wasn't just any musician. This was a man who counted Muhammad Ali among his friends and possessed what Drake himself described to MTV as natural musical talent, a lot of soul. But the musical lineage runs even deeper. Drake's uncle Larry Graham Jr. was the bassist for Sly and the Family Stone and collaborated with Prince. Another uncle, Mabon Teenie Hodges, helped create the Memphis sound and co-wrote classic soul hits like Love and Happiness and Take Me to the River with Al Green. Drake has even mentioned that his grandmother once babysat jazz legend Louis Armstrong. Think about that for a moment. Louis Armstrong, one of the greatest musicians who ever lived, was bounced on this family's knee. Those summers in Memphis weren't just family visits, they were musical boot camp. Young Drake would accompany his father to gigs, witnessing the magic being created at Memphis's Royal Studios by producers like Willie Mitchell and artists like Al Green. He absorbed the local rap sounds that would later shape his artistic style. Watching the rise of artists like Yo Gotti, Kingpin Skinny Pimp, and 3-6 Mafia during a vibrant era of Memphis hip-hop. One particular memory stands out. At a National Academy of Recording Arts and Sciences gathering in Nashville, Drake recounted his very first performance. His father brought him on stage during a gig to sing Ride, Sally Ride. Drake remembered, I ended up on stage performing with my dad, and everyone in the place thought it was the cutest thing in the world. Even as a child with sparse memories, that night remained crystal clear. The moment a star was born. Dennis Graham understood that he was raising more than just a son. He was cultivating an artist. He ingrained in Drake the discipline and lifestyle of a musician from day one. As Drake told Herb magazine, those formative years in Memphis were transformative, where he absorbed the energy of neighborhoods like Orange Mound and the Pepper Tree Apartments during hip-hop's emergence in the South. The profound impact of Memphis's musical legacy shaped Drake's distinctive sound and style. His skillful use of metaphors and storytelling, his father suggests, can be attributed to growing up surrounded by legendary songwriters like Isaac Hayes. This wasn't just musical education. This was cultural inheritance. Fast forward to Toronto, where a teenage Drake was juggling his role on Degrassi with a burning desire to make music. Enter Promise, a fellow Toronto rapper known for his DIY independent approach, and his 2011 album Awakening, which featured contributions from notable figures like Kanye West's cousin, Tony Williams, and production by Ninth Wonder's Soul Council. The introduction came through their mutual friend, singer-songwriter Jermaine Jai Brown, who recommended Promise to Drake, insisting he was impressive and that Drake would appreciate his work. When they first met on the set of Degrassi, Drake confessed that while he'd been writing songs, he hadn't embarked on serious recording efforts. Promise immediately invited him to his studio. What happened next changed everything. Promise was astonished by Drake's songwriting skills, despite Drake not being a formally established artist. Here was this kid from a teen drama who could craft lyrics with the precision of a seasoned veteran. Promise didn't just recognize talent, he nurtured it, inviting Drake to continue writing and use his studio space. This collaboration was instrumental in creating Drake's early hits that would eventually find their way onto his Room for Improvement mixtape. But the Toronto rap scene wasn't exactly welcoming. The city's competitive nature, partly due to American music's dominance overshadowing local productions, created what's often called a crabs in a barrel mentality. Many local musicians underestimated Drake because of his role on Degrassi, dismissing his musical potential as some actor's vanity project. Promise saw through the noise. He highlighted Drake's polished image, smooth flow, media training, and considerable fan base, advantages that other Toronto rappers simply didn't have. More importantly, Promise recognized the potential of emerging social media platforms. This is where the story gets really interesting. Promise kept pushing Drake to join Myspace, but Drake initially ignored these suggestions, completely unaware of the platform's potential benefits. Promise understood something crucial. Drake's existing fanbase as a young actor could translate into massive music exposure. Eventually, Drake embraced MySpace, which proved invaluable in the early stages of his music career. They even recorded an unreleased joint project titled DRPR, a fascinating what-if in hip-hop history. Promise shared his knowledge and strategies with Drake, understanding that while he might have the underground credibility, Drake had the platform and the polish to reach audiences Promise could only dream of. Looking back, it's evident that Promise had a significant impact on shaping Drake's early music career, particularly by advocating for his talents within the local scene and guiding him to exploit the potential of social media platforms like MySpace. Without Promise's guidance and belief, Drake might have remained just another actor dabbling in music. Having captured Toronto and built credibility in the southern U.S. rap scene through his association with Lil Wayne, Drake set his sights on the ultimate prize, New York City. While the city's hip-hop scene had experienced a relative slump compared to artists like Jay-Z and A$AP Rocky, New York remained the birthplace of hip-hop. Securing success there was, and still is, a hallmark of true achievement in the genre. The momentum was building. Texas rap icon Bun B from UGK had already joined Drake on stage at Toronto's Sound Academy, adding serious credibility to his growing reputation. But the real test came in May 2009, when Drake was invited to perform at Hot 97 FM's Who's Got Next showcase at S.O.B's, an iconic venue in New York City. This wasn't just another performance. This was Drake's unofficial debut in New York, and the stakes couldn't have been higher. Over 300 industry influencers packed into S.O.B's, including heavyweight figures like Talib Kweli, Ryan Leslie, Lear Cohen, and Kanye West. This was make-or-break territory. Drake delivered an electrifying performance, featuring a series of songs accompanied by instrumentals played by his official tour DJ, Future the Prince. Future the Prince wasn't just any DJ. He was a Toronto-based East African DJ known for his skillful video mixing, who had joined Drake in 2007 and performed at major North American events, including the Grammys and NBA All-Star Games. During the show, Bun B once again joined Drake on stage, further bolstering his street credibility within the industry. The performance was a masterclass in preparation meeting opportunity. This pivotal night at S.O.B's was a turning point that effectively conquered New York City. Billboard captured the moment perfectly, reporting that Drake had the biggest buzz in hip-hop right now. The ripple effects were immediate and massive. Industry figures and promoters suddenly wanted to align themselves with this Canadian phenomenon. By June 7th, Drake's unplanned appearance at Hot 97 FM's iconic Summer Jam event at Giant Stadium was highly anticipated and well-received. But perhaps the most significant validation came from Kanye West, who expressed keen interest in directing the music video for Drake's hit, Best I Ever Had. The video was filmed at Brooklyn's Bishop Ford Central Catholic High School, with esteemed artists like Jay-Z and Common making appearances on set. On the same day as the video shoot, Drake appeared on The Tonight Show with Conan O'Brien alongside Jamie Foxx, performing his guest verse on Fox's hit Digital Girl. When Best I Ever Had soared to the top of the Billboard charts, it became the summer anthem for hip-hop. Drake had accomplished something remarkable. He'd established a definitive presence not only in his hometown and the Southern rap circuit, but he'd also indisputably cemented his status as a dominant force in the music world. Success brought scrutiny, and with scrutiny came questions about authenticity, identity, and belonging. Drake's biracial heritage, Jewish through his mother Sandy while having an influential African-American father, placed him in a unique position within hip-hop culture, particularly around one of the genre's most controversial topics, the use of the N-word. This issue gained particular attention when Mac Miller, a young Jewish rapper from Pittsburgh and protege of Wiz Khalifa, playfully entered the scene by taking comedic jabs at Drake. Mac Miller claimed he was the coolest Jewish rapper, furthering a debate that had captivated audiences who wondered about the authenticity and skill of Jewish performers in hip-hop. The exchange became humorous when Mac Miller suggested on Twitter that he and Drake collaborate on a Hanukkah song, to which Drake responded with jest, saying such matters should be resolved in Tel Aviv, implying a musical showdown during a birthright trip. But the conversation around Drake's identity went deeper than lighthearted rivalries. In the complex landscape of North America, where both race and religion are significant societal pillars, Drake's usage of the N-word as a biracial artist stimulated intense discussions about racial relations and hip-hop culture. Admiring Michael Jackson from a young age, Drake memorized moves from Moonwalker, and in his song Over, he acknowledges Jackson's influence with an N-word inflection. The irony wasn't lost. Michael Jackson's message that it doesn't matter if we're black or white contrasted sharply with the specific cultural context in which the N-word resides within hip-hop. The broader issue of who can rightfully use the N-word remained divisive across the industry. When actress Gwyneth Paltrow tweeted a photo from a Kanye West and Jay-Z concert using a censored version of the phrase, she faced backlash despite quoting the song title directly. Similarly, white rapper V Nasty faced criticism from both African-American and Caucasian rappers like Game and Machine Gun Kelly for her use of the word in her lyrics. Even respected rapper Common, who incorporates the word in his own music, found discomfort hearing it from Caucasian actors while filming the TV series Hell on Wheels, despite their use being part of a performance. Chuck D of Public Enemy raised concerns over the omnipresence of the word in contemporary media, questioning who frequently uses it online, and voicing a desire to know the identities behind those who type it. As Drake navigated through his dual heritage, with his influential non-Black inner circle, including producer Noah Forty Shabaib and creative director Oliver El Khatib, questions arose about their reactions to his inclusion of the N-word in his music. Social platforms like Facebook hosted groups that challenged his right to use the word based on his skin tone and mixed ethnicity. Drake himself reflected on this in a 2007 interview with Notable Interviews, acknowledging his use of the controversial term in his early music. He expressed that he never felt he got it wrong, believing his lyrics portrayed Black men as thoughtful and intelligent, rather than resorting to stereotypes of violence and ignorance. Despite recognizing it as a racial slur, he admitted at the time to not fully grappling with its impact, suggesting either a lack of deep engagement with Black cultural nuances or simply attributing it to youth. This reflection points to a broader examination of how artists navigate racially sensitive language and its ramifications in an evolving social landscape, a conversation that Drake found himself at the center of, whether he wanted to be or not. Interested in what really happens when ambition, talent, and adversity collide, Scoop takes you beyond the surface to explore the defining, and often difficult, chapters in the lives of cultural trailblazers like Drake, Tom Cruise, Stanley Kubrick, David Bowie, and many others. We don't just tell stories, we dissect the struggles, turning points, and behind the scenes battles that shape their paths to greatness. With over 100,000 minutes of expertly produced audio and a dedicated audience of 50,000 plus listeners, our AI powered podcast studio brings clarity to the chaos of celebrity and creativity. Discover the moments that challenge them, the decisions that define them, and the resilience it took to rewrite the rules. Subscribe to Fame Factor and explore the untold truths behind the icons you thought you knew. One of Drake's most underappreciated superpowers is his ability to spot and elevate emerging talent. His endorsement carries the weight of cultural prophecy, transforming unknowns into household names virtually overnight. The Migos story perfectly illustrates this phenomenon. Picture Drake as a hip-hop superfan, exploring different regional rap scenes online with genuine enthusiasm. During a lively conversation reminiscent of a barbershop debate, Drake positioned himself as an authority and supporter of the Migos, an Atlanta-based rap trio, in a room full of skeptics. Asserting his admiration for their work, Drake stated confidently, "Don't get it twisted, I mess with Migos. They have a wave." He even went further, mentioning their lesser-known tracks like Adios and Pronto from their mixtape YRN, which had just been released. DJ Drama supported Drake's enthusiasm, acknowledging that If Birthday Bash, a key event for showcasing Atlanta rap, was to represent the current scene accurately, Migos needed to be part of it. Backstage, as Quavo casually ate wings, Drake, a special guest performer alongside 2 Chainz, didn't hesitate to engage with the burgeoning trio. Drake enthusiastically recounted his favorite Migos tracks directly to the artists. This interaction was significant for Migos, who couldn't miss the chance for collaboration with such a star. They suggested working together, knowing how such discussions often surface in casual conversations among artists, but can be empty promises. However, Drake's admiration was genuine, and he was tactically astute enough to recognize their potential early. True to his word, Drake reached out a few days later, ready to collaborate. Coach and P, Migos' management, anticipated that Drake might add his flair to one of the already popular tracks from YRN, such as Chinatown or Dennis Rodman. They sent him a selection of tracks, but Drake chose to contribute to Versace. A mere week after Birthday Bash, he released his version on SoundCloud, enhancing its reach. The impact was immediate and staggering. Within days, pop icon Justin Bieber was seen rapping along to Versace in a social media post. This endorsement helped Migos graduate from local Atlanta fame to international acclaim, catapulting them into the music industry's higher echelons. But Drake's influence extends beyond music. When he gives a strong recommendation of a product, voluntary or paid, he effectively shares it with his vast audience. Take the case of Garcia, a tailor specializing in bespoke shirts. Drake inadvertently boosted Garcia's business by retweeting information about his clothing designs. Garcia, who was exporting customized shirts to Japan priced between $75 and $250, experienced an explosive increase in demand after Drake's endorsement. Sales skyrocketed so dramatically that Garcia could invest in his passion project, a commercial art studio called Halo Village. This establishment allowed him to offer art classes, something he'd enjoyed for around 5 years while traveling across Toronto. The unexpected influx of funds from the Drake-fueled sales frenzy not only covered this endeavor, but also took care of urgent expenses like insurance bills. Garcia expressed immense gratitude and surprise at Drake's support for Toronto-based artists, underscoring the importance of fostering local talent. The buzz surrounding Drake's endorsement carried into Garcia's dealings around the city, allowing him to seize opportunities at trendy bars where his work received recognition. Drake's status as a trendsetter indisputably opened doors and elevated Garcia's business profile. Perhaps the most mysterious case of the Drake effect involves The Weeknd, whose soaring popularity began in 2010. Despite lacking official digital presence, no albums, mixtapes, or even a Myspace page, The Weeknd captured significant media attention. A New York Times feature arrived before any formal music release, with reporter John Caramanica lauding tracks like What You Need, Loft Music, and The Morning. The buzz around the weekend was so underground that even the New York Times mistakenly reported his name as The Weeknd. The identity of those behind promoting his music remained a mystery. A group named She's So Lovely was responsible for uploading his music and visuals online, but whether they acted with The Weeknd's endorsement or were part of his promotional team remained unknown. This enigmatic rollout only added to his allure, propelling The Weeknd into a spotlight initially shaped by ambiguity and compelling artistry. Not every story in Drake's journey is one of triumph. Sometimes, the most revealing moments come from disappointment, and the 2011 Juno Awards provided exactly that kind of moment. Despite hosting the 40th anniversary show and receiving 6 nominations, Drake walked away empty-handed, a snub that reverberated throughout the Canadian music scene. Although Drake chose not to speak publicly about his unexpected exclusion from winning any awards, the disappointment on his face was evident. The after-party at Music Nightclub in downtown Toronto was intended to be a celebration, but instead became a wake for what should have been. Observing Drake's disheartenment, his fans expressed their disappointment on his behalf. Some rappers went so far as to produce tracks voicing their discontent. One notable figure, Mindbender, whose real name is Adhimu Stewart, took his dissent to the next level. Mindbender, a local organizer, critic, rapper, and superfan known as Toronto's unofficial rap mayor, recorded a fierce dubplate critique titled Utterly Disrespectful, targeting award shows like the Junos. This track, laid over the instrumentals from Drake's 9 a.m. in Dallas, serves as both a testament to Drake's success and a scathing criticism of the perceived oversight. Mindbender holds significant credibility to comment on the state of Canadian rap and the treatment its figures receive. His deep involvement in the scene has earned him recognition even from Drake himself. In an interview with Nardwuar, Drake remarked, "I think Mindbender has been at every single thing that I've ever done in Toronto. Mindbender is probably the most avid hip-hop head I've ever known in my entire life, and he cares about Toronto hip-hop and Canadian hip-hop, I think more than anybody. That's a guy who really lives it." In Utterly Disrespectful, Mindbender rapped about the irony of having Drake host without awarding him. "It was a whole new low to use dude as the host of the 40th anniversary show ya, 6 nominations and no Juno." Despite the snub, Mindbender praised Drake's composure and performance as the master of ceremonies, noting the contradiction of Drake having to keep a brave face within an industry that Mindbender describes as half phony. Having attended the ceremony, Mindbender recorded his critique after witnessing the snub firsthand. He referenced Cardinal Offishal's commentary on the situation, citing it as utterly disrespectful due to the complete absence of rap or urban music performances. Mindbender felt that Drake's involvement without recognition seemed exploitative. The after-party scene was surreal. In the vast space of Music Nightclub, filled with around 3,000 attendees amidst chandeliers and bottle service, everyone anticipated a triumph that never materialized. The crowd realized in disbelief that Drake hadn't won anything. Drake, maintaining his composure, entered the venue to thank his supporters, but the occasion remained bittersweet. Mindbender's choice to use the 9 a.m. in Dallas beat was deliberate. This track was originally crafted by Boy One Day for Drake's Thank Me Later, but didn't feature on the album. Mindbender, who began his rap journey performing with his twin brother Conspiracy as part of Supreme Being Unit, clarified that his criticism wasn't aimed at other Canadian artists like Shad, who won the Juno Rap Award. Instead, he emphasized that Drake's accomplishments deserved recognition as well. He drew parallels to the Rascals, who famously rejected Juno Awards in previous years, suggesting that their past efforts were in vain, as the industry seemed to have regressed to former biases. The Juno snub became a defining moment that highlighted the ongoing struggle for hip-hop recognition within traditional Canadian music institutions. While Drake was conquering the music world, he never fully abandoned his acting roots. His journey in Hollywood has been marked by a gradual buildup of his acting portfolio, starting with minor roles that slowly accumulated on his IMDb page. His first foray into the Hollywood scene occurred with a role in the 2007 film Charlie Bartlett, where he acted alongside Robert Downey Jr. Although his part wasn't significant, the experience was enjoyable for Drake, particularly because of the notable cast and crew involved. The film was shot at Toronto's Northern Secondary School for just one day, and Drake noted the presence of some peers from Degrassi. It was a small role, but working with Robert Downey Jr. during his pre-Iron Man comeback provided Drake with insight into professional acting at the highest level. By 2009, Drake decided not to passively wait for acting roles to appear, but proactively worked behind the scenes to create his own opportunities. In a strategic move similar to many emerging actors, he teamed up with the Toronto-based Nightingale Company to develop a comedy series titled Us and Them alongside Mazen El-Sadig, a fellow alumnus from Degrassi: The Next Generation. The series was planned to draw inspiration from real-life events of the two friends, presenting them as contrasting yet complementary characters, envisaged as a youthful version of Entourage. Despite not getting picked up, this venture showcased Drake's initiative in exploring television production and his understanding that creating content might be more effective than waiting for opportunities. However, a significant factor influencing the pace of Drake's acting ambitions was his rapidly growing music career. With only 2 albums released at that time, Drake acknowledged the challenge of balancing both professions, recognizing that music had always been his primary focus. During the period leading up to his album Thank Me Later, he was engaged in reading movie scripts but opted out of several acting opportunities. When comparing the music industry to the acting industry, Drake expressed a preference for music due to its immediacy compared to the protracted waiting periods inherent in acting. He explained to Much Music that the extensive process of auditions, securing roles, and waiting for projects to be greenlit was less appealing, since he preferred not to wait to work. In music, he could write a song today and release it tomorrow, a creative freedom that acting simply couldn't match. Drake's approach to his entertainment career is marked by caution and selectivity, mirroring the careful choices he makes in his musical collaborations and production. His manager, Cortez Bryant, emphasized this deliberate strategy in Vibe magazine, indicating that Drake wasn't interested in stereotypical roles and was seeking unexpected and challenging parts, such as those in sci-fi or action genres, to truly showcase his acting prowess. This strategy aligns with larger conversations within the industry, such as those highlighted by organizations like the NAACP, which have criticized Hollywood for its limited and often stereotypical roles available to Black actors. In an interview with XXL magazine, Drake shared his dissatisfaction with the types of film roles typically offered to rappers breaking into acting, touching on the broader issue of racial dynamics and casting decisions in Hollywood. He expressed a desire to participate in film projects of depth and significance beyond the cliched roles often assigned to Black actors, roles centered around basketball or generic themes. Drake's goal was to engage with substantial, meaningful projects that reflected his broad experiences and talents, not just capitalize on his music fame with throwaway appearances. No discussion of Drake would be complete without addressing the conspiracy theories that swirl around his imagery and associations. The cover of one of Drake's albums features an owl statue, which many speculate is a nod to both the Bohemian Grove and the Illuminati. Drake's distinct image deviates from the typical tattooed and rugged personas often seen in the hip-hop industry. He possesses a more polished and refined appearance that has led to various theories about his background and connections. Drake chose an owl as his emblem after being signed by Lil Wayne's Young Money Entertainment, a symbol that closely resembles the mascot of the Bohemian Grove. This owl motif is prominent throughout Drake's brand, appearing on his clothing, album covers, and tattoos, particularly on his right shoulder. But what exactly is the Bohemian Grove, and why does this connection matter to conspiracy theorists? The Bohemian Grove is a secluded, all-male gathering area spread over 2,700 acres of redwood forest in Sonoma County, California, not far from San Francisco. Every July, This retreat hosts a 2-week-long event where influential men from various sectors, political, economic, and media elites assemble. This exclusive event facilitates off-the-record discussions and decision-making, often associated with shadowy power structures and secretive organizations. The Bohemian Grove's emblematic owl signifies wisdom and the ability to see what others cannot, representing insight and the invisible workings of global power dynamics. The owl also carries connotations of death, night, and the afterlife in various cultural and symbolic contexts, notably in Egyptian hieroglyphs. A substantial 40-foot concrete owl is situated near the Russian River inside the grove, serving as the focal point for the annual cremation of care ceremony. This ritual involves a theatrical performance where a mock human sacrifice occurs, with members dressed in black hooded robes symbolically casting off their burdens by burning an effigy named Care on an altar. The ritual bears striking similarities to ancient sacrificial ceremonies, like those described in the Book of Leviticus, where sacrifices were made to the god Moloch. This has led to speculation that the ritual is a modern-day parallel to these historical practices. Such activities have fueled theories linking the Bohemian Grove to potential occult rituals and accusations about the nature of its membership. Given these associations, some speculate that Drake's use of a similar owl symbol suggests an affinity or connection with this mysterious and elite group. The polished nature of Drake's image, combined with his rapid rise to fame and influence, has only added fuel to these conspiracy fires. Some theorists have even suggested that Drake's public persona could be preparing the industry and its audience for future cultural shifts, given his different presentation compared to traditional hip-hop artists. These theories extend to speculation about his sexuality and whether his mainstream success represents a broader agenda within the entertainment industry. Of course, these remain interpretations and conjectures. The owl could simply be a symbol Drake found aesthetically appealing or meaningful for personal reasons, unrelated to any secret organizations. But in the world of hip-hop, where symbolism and hidden meanings have always played a role, Drake's choice of imagery continues to generate discussion and debate among fans and conspiracy theorists alike. As we step back and examine the full scope of Drake's journey, from the studios of Degrassi to global superstardom, certain patterns emerge that help us understand not just his success, but his lasting impact on music and culture. Drake didn't just break into hip-hop, he fundamentally changed what it could be. He proved that vulnerability could coexist with bravado, that melody could enhance rather than diminish street credibility, and that an artist's background didn't have to fit traditional molds to achieve authenticity. His biracial identity, his Canadian origins, his acting background, all the things that should have been obstacles became assets in his hands. The Memphis musical DNA that flows through his veins provided the foundation, but it was his strategic mind that built the empire. From Promise's early guidance about Myspace to his own instincts about supporting emerging artists like Migos, Drake consistently demonstrated an understanding of cultural currents that went beyond just making good music. His disappointments, like the Juno snub, revealed the persistence of institutional biases even as he was reshaping the industry. His Hollywood ambitions showed an artist unwilling to be boxed into a single category, even as his music career demanded more and more of his attention. The conspiracy theories surrounding his imagery speak to the power he wields. When you're influential enough to spark discussions about secret societies, you've achieved a level of cultural penetration that goes far beyond entertainment. What makes Drake's story particularly fascinating is how it mirrors the broader evolution of the music industry itself. His rise coincided with the social media revolution, the streaming transformation, and the globalization of hip-hop. He didn't just ride these waves, he helped create them. The young man who once sat on his father's lap learning piano has become someone whose endorsement can transform lives overnight, whose snubs become news stories, and whose every move is analyzed for deeper meaning. From Garcia's shirt business exploding after a simple retweet, to The Weeknd's mysterious emergence under his influence, Drake has proven that in the modern entertainment landscape, taste-making might be just as valuable as talent. But perhaps most importantly, Drake's journey illustrates the power of persistence, strategic thinking, and staying true to your vision even when others doubt it. The Toronto scene that initially dismissed him as just an actor eventually claimed him as their king. The New York establishment that seemed impenetrable fell to a perfectly executed performance at S.O.B's. The racial authenticity questions that could have derailed him became part of a broader conversation about identity in hip hop. Today, Drake's influence extends far beyond music. He's a cultural architect, someone who doesn't just respond to trends, but creates them. His OVO empire represents a new model of artist entrepreneurship. His ability to spot and elevate talent has become legendary. His symbolic choices continue to generate discussion and debate. From chart topping hits to industry shaping influence, Drake's story goes far beyond music. It's about vision, reinvention, and navigating the pressures of global fame. At Scoob, we don't just spotlight celebrity success, we explore the turning points, personal battles, and cultural moments that define legacies. With over 100,000 minutes of immersive audio storytelling and a thriving community of 50,000 plus listeners, Scoob delivers deep, unfiltered narratives that reveal the person behind the public persona. Drake's journey, marked by ambition, controversy, and undeniable impact, is just one of many we break down moment by moment. Listen anytime, anywhere, only on Scoob. No filler, just bold, revealing stories about the artists who move the world. Subscribe to Fame Factor for new episodes that uncover the hidden sides and pivotal moments of your favorite celebrities. As we conclude this deep dive into the Drake Chronicles, one thing becomes clear. We're not just looking at the story of a successful entertainer. We're examining the blueprint for how to navigate and ultimately reshape an entire industry. Drake took every supposed disadvantage, his race, his nationality, his acting background, his sensitivity, and transformed them into superpowers. The boy from Toronto who learned music at his father's knee in Memphis, who grinding in studios with promise, who conquered New York one performance at a time, who faced identity questions and industry snubs, who lifted others as he climbed, and who sparked conspiracy theories with his symbolism. That journey represents more than just individual success. It represents the evolution of what's possible in modern entertainment. Drake didn't just become a star. He became a template, a case study, and a cultural force. And his story, like the best stories, is still being written. That's our deep dive into Drake. From Memphis musical royalty to Toronto's underground scene, from New York conquest to global influence, we've traced the path of one of music's most fascinating figures. Whether you see him as a musical genius, a strategic mastermind, or something more mysterious, one thing is undeniable. Drake changed the game forever. Thanks for joining me on this journey through the untold stories behind the headlines. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep listening to the stories behind the stories.